So what breaks down relationships, would you say? You know, as we try to relate, as we try to, walk out this love thing, what breaks relationships? What would you say?
I would say there's two main things. One is not understanding your own needs and not being willing to understand the needs of the people around you. If you're not aware of what you're needing, and you're not able to express that, there's going to be a gap there, and you're going to start to lose that connection. And when you're communicating, do you understand what does this person need from me, and how can I try to meet that? And then I would say the second thing is, just the way we allow ourselves to see each other. I know for me, the biggest thing that I've learned in loving has been to try to pull back and just really say, God, how do you see this person? When we are able to kind of take ourselves out of the picture and see them through God's eyes and, really take on that prophetic way of looking at people, we're able to see what God sees in them. It's impossible not to love them and move towards them when we see them.
To break every chain, 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 break every chain. Oh yes, those chains are falling. Oh yes, they're falling. I hear those chains falling. Yes, I hear those chains falling. Oh yes, they're falling. Chains falling. I hear those chains falling.
We've got to understand that there's a war over this nation. There's a war over our lives, and it's trying to drive us into battle against each other. I've never seen believers come at each other like I've seen over the last several years. I'll tell you what, we've got problems. We've got problems as a nation. We've got problems as people, and people are rising up with such hatred toward each other. And I understand there's a root to it. A lot of people, it's the racism thing. And do I believe there's racism? I absolutely do. I believe there's racism. And some people would even say that I'm the wrong color to even talk about that. I don't believe that's true. I believe people like me ought to talk about that. I believe I ought to tell the truth about racism. I believe that I ought to have a voice. Racism is simply this. It's a belief that racial differences produce an inherent superiority. And that's not true. But people treat each other that way. It's the poor treatment or violence because of race. I've seen prejudice arise. I've seen it arise in believers' lives, a prejudice. It's an unfair feeling of dislike for a person or group because of race or age or gender or religion. That's prejudice. And we've got prejudice that seems to be rising at a higher level than ever before. And what it's trying to do, it's trying to divide us. It's trying to cause us to fight against each other, to forget where the real fight is, to forget where the real battle is. There is a battle, the enemy. He wants us to fight each other. He wants us to become distracted by the horrible situations that we find ourselves in.